this is chapter 6-9. Our chapter test will be on Monday. It's the last section, I believe, of chapter 6, and it's on word problems. All right. So whenever you're doing a word problem, the first thing I want you to do is to define your unknown. Define your unknown. So in this case, it says the product of one more than a number and 4 less than a number is 36. What? And then it says find the number. What is our unknown? But X stands for what in the story? A number. So X equals a number. That's defining it. Whoops, that's not it. Okay, X stands for, I want you to always define. Here it is. So X equals the number. That's defining. Write the variable and tell what it stands for. Okay, now, when I'm reading, I see the product. I circle it and I send it over to the and. What does a product mean? What operation? So, that's going to be a multiplication. I've got something before it. I have something after it. And then I have the word is. And then I have a 36. So I'm translating it in that way. So I've got a multiplication sign, an equal sign. Okay, what can I fill in here? Sam Lee, give me a piece of it.
X plus 1 times.
I said a piece. Okay, what part are you translating? Read the words.
One more than that number.
Okay, now notice there is that one more than. So, although this is a 1 and this is X, when it says one more than, we know that more than is plus. And so, we're going to have to make that, what'd you say it is?
The quantity of X plus 1.
X plus 1. Good. So that's X plus 1. And he said the quantity. Now, because I'm putting that in parentheses, I don't need that multiplication sign. Now, it says times 4 less than the number. How do I show that? 4 less than the number right here. Evan? Good. And then I have is my equal sign. And then I set it equal to what? Josh?
36.
Perfect. So, now we've got our equation. We've defined our unknown. What would be the next step? So first we translate. Sam?
Subtract 36 from both sides.
Not yet. Not yet. Urani?
Use FOIL to...
Foil or double distribute your binomials. So now, what is X plus 1 times the quantity of X minus 4 equal? Somebody else? Kelly?
X squared minus 3x minus 4.
Good. Here's first, here's inside, and here's last. Equals 36. Now, do you understand why we didn't subtract 36 right away, Sam? Because we couldn't have subtracted it. And now we're finding when I subtract it, I have to subtract it from the product. Do you understand? And so I'm subtracting here. I can subtract it with the 4. We end up with x squared minus 3x plus 40. Minus 40, sorry. Alright. Equals 0. Okay, so now I'm going to do my x marks the spot, but multiplies to negative 40 and adds to negative 3. Aria? 8's negative, so I do x minus 8 times x plus 5 equals 0. Now as I set them equal to 0, I'm mental mathing this. What is x equal to in that first one? Positive 8 is the additive inverse, and x equals negative 5. So my solutions are negative 5 and positive 8. Questions? Okay. Questions? All right, moving on. Okay, so, but just make sure and identify your unknowns. So when you get an answer, you know what to refer it to. Now, we can always check our work. If I substitute a negative 5 in, okay, negative 5 plus 1 times the quantity of negative 5 minus 4. That's negative 4 times negative 9. Does that equal 36? So we have a check method with this. That's what's good about this math at the end. It's really easy to check. And then we have to check the other one. Substitute the 8 in. 8 plus 1 times 8 minus 4. Again, I still get 36. Yes?
But there's like one thing you can't check, and it's how you write the problem at first. So.
Yeah, you're right. You said you can't check. Okay. Next one. Length of a rectangle is 2 feet less than 3 times the width. If the area is 65 feet squared, find the dimensions. So in this word problem, again, identify your unknowns. Now, what I start with on my unknowns is the piece that they give me less of. Which information do they give me the least about? Nick? The width. So let's call that x. We always go with, as I'm defining my unknowns, I'm going to call that okay, and then I've got what else to identify? And one more thing to identify is the area, because they give me dimensions. All right, so what am I writing for length? Because they say length is 2 feet less than 3 times width. 2 feet less than 3 times width. So let me rearrange that. This is really all one. It's going to be 2 feet less than 3 width. How would you call that?
3x subtract 2.
Good. 3x. We have to move it around. 3x because of the less than. Minus 2. Good. And then area. Do they give us any dimensions? Is it minus 2?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what was the area?
65 feet squared.
Okay, 65 square feet. Now, as soon as I mention rectangle, that means I draw it and I label it. That whole thing is 65. This is x. And this right here is 3x minus 2. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, what else do I do as soon as they say area of rectangle? What should pop in my head? Urani?
The formula for area,
Of a rectangle, which is?
A equals L times W.
Or W times L. And next step. What am I doing? Mary.
You label it.
I've already done all the labeling.
On that you put inner information into the.
What?
You put the
Do we put in math?
substitute.
We substitute. So what's A, Mary?
65.
What's length? It's its own thing. And what's the width?
X.
Good. So now I do my double distributing. We distribute first. 3x squared minus 2x. Next step. Now I am, yes,
Subtracting 65.
minus 65. And we get 0 equals 3x squared minus 2x minus 65. Now, the big one here is, now we have to multiply. When I multiply 3 and 65 together, I get negative 195, and it has to add to negative 2. This is an ugly number, but it's not as scary as you think. Let's go with my logic. I'm going to teach you my logical ways. When it says 195, that means what is the product, okay, of 195? But down here it says it's 2 digits apart. That's pretty close to a perfect square. It's pretty close to a perfect square. 195 is close to what perfect square? Jake? 196, 14 squared. Okay? So 14 times 14 is 196. This is 2 digits apart. Now clue number 2 is this right here. It ends in a 5. I need 2 numbers that are 2 digits apart that when multiplied together will give me a 5 as the last digit. That tells me it needs to be what kind of a number? Josh, what kind of number does that need to be? Not the exact number, but what kind of number does it have to be to end in a 5? For the result to end in a 5? No, not just an odd number. Costa?
Has to be a multiple of 5.
Multiple of 5. One of the numbers in that has to be a multiple of 5. Because 3 times 2, 4 times 2, 4 times 8, 4 times 9 doesn't give me 5s. The only way I get 5s is when I multiply by a 5. So I need a number 2 digits apart, close to 14 squared. Look at all these hands up now. I don't have to do a lot of thinking because I just use logic. Carlitos, what are you coming up with?
I got 13 and negative 15.
Perfect. 13, negative 15. Okay, so now I'm using my 3x squared, my negative 65, and then I'm going to put my minus 15x plus 13x and factor by grouping. Okay, so I can divide out a 3x and I'm left with x minus 5. I can factor out a plus 13. I'm left with x minus 5. My solution is 3x plus 13 times the quantity of x minus 5. Okay, now I know that on the first one, x minus 5 equals 0. What's the solution going to be? Okay. X equals 5 right here. That little one down there, I don't know if you can see it. So we got, for 1, x equals 5. Now I have to do another one. Just going to make some space here. And do 3x plus 13 equals 0. Subtract 13. 3x equals negative 13. 3 over 3. And x is equal to negative 13 over 3. So these are my solutions. Or I get, oh, gosh, does that work? Am I done here? Am I done here? What's not working? Grant.
Improper factor?
Nope. Why?
Because you can't have a negative b.
So, which is an invalid solution?
Negative 13 over 3.
-13/3. So look what I do. I get rid of that, and I'm only using this. Okay? Because distance can't be negative. So, and a measurement can't be negative. So let me just give myself more room here. So once I find out, once I do that, then I substitute in 5 times 3x. 3x times 5 is -2. And we get 3 times 5 is 15 minus 2 is 13. So my dimensions are 5 and 13. Questions? Somebody say what?
How did you get 13?
Because I substitute in right here. I'm substituting in the 5.
Oh,
You know, it's 3 times 5 minus 2 is equal to my length, which is 13. So I can't use that negative value. Okay, questions? I think we got one more left. No, 2 more. Okay, so what do I need to identify? My PowerPoint's not going to do it, so I'm going to ask you to do it first. What are my unknowns? The base of the triangle is 4 meters longer than the height. Find the height if the area of the triangle is 16 meters squared. What is unknown? The height and the base. So for my height, which one are we going to start with? Which is the easiest? Height, because it has the least amount of information. Because it says the base is 4 longer than height. That means height is called what? Height is x. And then the base, how do I call that? Base is 4 longer than height. Alex? X plus 4. Okay. Now, find the height if the area of the triangle is 16 meters squared. So now, what we are... Now, what else do I need here? Evan? Area is 16. And then, of course, I need the formula. What is the formula for a triangle? Yes?
Area equals 1/2 base times height.
A equals 1/2 base times height. Okay? I'm going to erase this right now. Now, they don't go using the formula as much as I want it written. Okay? Okay, forget about this. They're giving you the answer. But, okay. So I'm using the formula. I'm substituting in. I just had an idea. Isn't this the same as 1/2 BH? What would I do to clear that fraction? Grant?
Multiply the whole way by 2.
And so what do I end up with?
You end up with BH equals 2A.
That might be easier to clear the fraction first. Because look what's going to happen. Well, here, let's see. I'm just thinking about earlier today. So, I start substituting in 1/2 times the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity of x equals 16. Now, this is where it gets tricky. My PowerPoint assumes... What would you do next to the person that said it's much easier the other way? Was that Brent? Jake? Why do you say this way? What do you do next? Tell me. Explain your method.
Then you, oh, for this one, yeah. Whereas for other ones, it actually would be.
Okay, the reason why I say this, because I think my PowerPoint is going to clear the fraction first, but for your sake, what you have to know is that this is just all one term here. When you distribute, if you were to clear and multiply everything by 2, you multiply this one term here by 2, not each part of it. That's why kids get confused. So it might be easiest to first either, you have a couple different ways you can handle this. Clear the fraction first, like I showed you, then substitute. Or you can distribute first, then clear your fraction. Okay, so this becomes 1, I think I'd probably just do this way. This times this whole thing. That becomes an x squared plus 4x. You with me? That whole thing is multiplied by 1/2. Now distribute that in. It's 1/2 x squared plus 2x equals 16. Are you guys with me? Now, you can clear the fraction now or in a minute. We can subtract 16. We get 1/2 x squared plus 2x minus 16 equals 0. You with me? Clear that ugly fraction. Multiply everything by 2. It becomes 4x, x squared, and minus 32. Are you guys still with me? Yes. So now I'm just factor, my trinomial. What multiplies to 32, negative 32, Kelly, and adds to 4.
Oh, 8 and negative 4.
Good. So it's x plus 8 times x minus 4 equals 0. This one, x minus 4 equals 0. The solution is positive 4. The other solution is x plus 8 equals 0. X equals 8. Negative 8. You with me? Which of those is invalid? So the height is 4. And then if I add that 4 plus 4, I get 8. Does that make sense? I think if I had cleared everything, see, they're going to try and clear it by going 2. They just clear it. They get that. You could do that as well. Shh. Give it to me. Bring it up here. Okay. So, I'm recording. So, you can clear it here, but just make sure you don't double distribute. Make sure you don't double distribute. Does that make sense? Because you only clear it once. Because that's all one term. So then I said, hey, what happens if we clear our fraction first? Look at this. Multiply everything by 2. And then it's going to clear, and I'm left with BH, when I multiply it here, equals 2A. Now I substitute. The base, the height is x, and the base is x plus 4, equals, the A is 16 times 2, right? I don't know, that might be easier. X squared plus 4x equals 32. Subtract the 32. And we get x squared plus 4x minus 32 equals 0. You get your x plus 8 times x minus 8 minus 4. Again, my solutions are the same. What do you guys think? So, you know, that's an option. I've shown you a couple different ways to get rid of that fraction. You look at my PowerPoint, it's not that hard, but I just don't want you to double distribute that 2 that you're multiplying in. Okay, now, last problem. This should be easy. Okay? Product of 2 consecutive integers. What's the first consecutive integer? Quetzali? X. What's the second consecutive integer? Belen? Good. And how do I find the product of that? What do I have to do? Yes?
X plus x plus 1.
No, product, not sum.
Quantity of x times the quantity of x plus 1.
Right, we're multiplying those quantities equals 90. Distribute it out, the x, subtract the 90. I get x squared plus x minus 90. Factor it. What multiplies to negative 90 and adds to 1 is what, Urani? 10 and negative 9. So we get x minus 9 times x plus 10 equals 0. Okay? Then I'm setting them both equal to 0. I get x equals negative 10 or x equals 9. Now, I can check my work. Substitute it in. And then I'm checking the other one. Now, do I have to negate my negative number in this one? Do I have to negate it? So look. Now, this is going to have 4 answers. It's going to have 4 answers. Because if the first integer is negative not 10, then when I substitute negative 10 in here, okay, when I substitute negative 10 in here, I end up with negative 9. But if my first integer is that other term, 9, then my next integer is going to be what? So there's 4 answers here. Questions? And that's the end.